As you're pointing out, Mr. Sampler, about the steps that are being taken concerning the election, the reality is that in 2009, President Karzai had his hand in the fraud-plagued election. And the concern I think many of us have is what is being done to make certain that we don't have a repeat in this. We already hear some of his commentary about possibly postponing an election, all right? What steps are being taken to make certain that the international community has in place something that can stand up to his efforts to try to manipulate the election process, should he try to do so again?
Well, I think both State and AID are working on this, so Larry may want to amplify. First of all, I would note that in 2009, although there was a great deal of fraud, there was also no doubt about who the winner was, since even if you disallowed for all the fraud, Karzai was still 20 points ahead.
Well, that may be true, but the fact that he was willing to go in and
I agree.
Commit the fraud is what's concerning to me, because when this is over, Afghans have to have some level of confidence, and they know what he tried to do last time.
No, I mean, that was prefatory to saying that it's more serious this time because the election's likely to be closer.
Right.
And it's important that the margin of victory not be smaller than the margin of fraud. Now, I think we are reasonably satisfied that the election preparations to date are much better than they were in 2009 or 2004. They're being undertaken in accordance with legislation rather than a presidential decree.
Right.
The legislation has been fully followed with reasonable adherence to its provisions. The Electoral Commission seems to have a strong leadership and so far has made decisions which are broadly accepted by most of the candidates as fair. The international community, in the United States in particular, are continuing to follow this closely and render support in a number of sectors, and I think Larry can expand on that. President Karzai has not said anything to date which would indicate any desire to postpone the election. Everything he said privately and publicly to us and to everybody else we know of is consistent with his desire to conclude this election on time and to leave office on schedule. There's a lot of suspicion, as you say, based on earlier experiences. And in any new democracy, that kind of suspicion is in any case endemic. But for the moment, we haven't seen any evidence of such.
This is encouraging. I did want to ask Larry Sampler about specifically, if I could, the election monitors, because I think that's one area where we are playing a pretty important role. The security forces, the election monitors, particularly female officers, since that's necessary in this environment to sort of screen women voters as they come in. We want to make sure all women have the ability to vote in this situation, that all Afghans and young people have the ability to queue up and have their ballot cast. Give us a quick update on that front.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The U.S. is contributing about $100 million to this election. Of that, roughly $55 million is going into a UNDP basket fund to support the elections. That provides the technical assistance that will help the Afghan Independent Electoral Commission conduct the elections in a way that's as free and fair and independent of fraud as can be done. The other $45 million we're retaining and investing bilaterally in areas where we see particular need. Voting monitors and polling station monitors is one of those areas. Another is civil society engagement, particularly with respect to women's interest groups. And we're investing in technology that we really didn't have access to, or we didn't have the sophistication to have access to in the last election. And as an example, I spoke yesterday about SMS technology that women in Afghanistan are now using to collaborate and coordinate their approach to their candidates to make sure that they're getting their issues on the platforms of all the candidates. So there are both technological and technical assistance ways that we're investing our resources in support of the elections. Certainly areas, there continue to be areas that concern us. One of them is the access of women to polling places. I was in Afghanistan a month ago, and each time I visit, I go to the Independent Election Commission and get an update. They're aware of the problem, and they're working to fix it. Now, I can't promise you that their solution will be robust in every district of Afghanistan. But to be honest, having been engaged there now for 12 years, I'm just pleased to see that they have a methodological approach to how they're identifying these problems and pushing and addressing them. They are putting money where the problems are. They are training women security, and they're training women polling place workers. And I think we will see an improvement, a dramatic improvement over 2009 in that regard.
Thank you. My time's expired. I'm going to go to Mr. Ted Deutsch of Florida.